Welcome, Nym fam, to today's live stream. Hope you are all well. I'll bring in Ray in just a second, where we'll discuss our possible final drafts and get into rating your teams. But first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to all who sent in the drafts. I mean, the thread on Twitter has gone mad. If you want to add yours, we'll try and get around to it. There is a thread there. Just check it on and we'll see what we can do. Obviously, as I say, there's quite a few, so bear with us. I haven't been too well the last few weeks, but I've pushed through with the preseason content. I hope you guys have been loving it. I need to say a massive thank you to you all, because I'm only 100 subs away from my 5k target at the start of the season, which I thought would never happen. So thank you all so much. Honestly, it means loads to me that you have supported me, and of course that you voted for me in the Football Content Awards too. So very grateful for all of the support. If you want to join my league, the code is in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. Okay, to be honest, it's enough Yaga for now, isn't it? Let's get Ray in. So let me just go on over to the screen and get him in. Hey Ray, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, Nim. Long time. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. Now, I'm just gonna quickly switch over the screen here for us. Ooh, hello.
Yep, I'm here.
I disappeared there for a second. I'm gonna pull up Ray's team because we're gonna chat about our drafts to start with. So yeah, Ray's gonna kind of chat us through his team, who is looking pretty tasty there, Ray, I gotta say. I mean, it's looking a little templatey, won't lie, but it's looking pretty tasty nonetheless. Chat us through it, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's my third year playing FPL, and the first year was just ridiculous. Like I played five at the back and just didn't really know what I was doing. And then last year I played Saint Maximin and Martial, which is ridiculous. So this season I'm like, you know what? And I finished 33k, which I think is good for a second
That's
year.
really good, to be fair.
And this year I'm like, you know what? Me as an individual, I like to think I'm kind of like safety first kind of thing. I like to stay in the pack and then eventually try and break away and get more results in anything sports related. And I thought, you know what, I'll do it this time. And you and I have spoken a bit for the last month or so.
Yeah.
And pretty much I said, these are the kind of players I'm looking at. And you
Mhm.
kind of concurred with me. And they've fallen into kind of the template, haven't they? So,
Yeah.
apart, but with Calvert Lewin having a dodgy toe, with Buendia, spoiler alert, I gave a little tip to you about Buendia. That doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah. It's actually made my options a little more straightforward. So I
Mhm.
feel like with about 10 of these players, I'm quite comfortable. With Ishmael Assar, he was actually in my first draft I did about a month ago. But then with Buendia coming in and stuff like that, I thought, you know what? I think Buendia with those opening three fixtures with Watkins, and Watkins gets hurt, then I have to find point 0.5 somewhere. So I think this is a team which will keep me in the pack. I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think I can be fluid if I want to move around a bit, especially if Lukaku looks to come. Um, I think I could easily bring in that money if I just downgrade Digne, Sarr, and Antonio. I think I could bring in Lukaku, for example, and a 4.5 million defender. But yeah, I think I'm all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking good, to be fair. I mean, it's nice balance. I like it. You can move plenty of places.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not far off what I've got, which I will show in just a second. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, Digne, that's the one I wanted to kind of chat to you about, because I notice he's still in your team. So, what's your thinking behind that? Because for me, the preseason kind of, I guess, put me off a little bit, the preseason game on the weekend, where Everton lost fairly badly to Man United. So, what's
Right.
your thinking? Are you not bothered by that at all, with Digne, or is it just a case of, there, man, I didn't know that went on?
Yeah, I mean, pre-season for me is always about fitness and
Mhm.
just to see if the guys are kind of at it, at least in regards to the physical attributes.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, Dinya looked fine physically. it didn't actually scupper my thoughts whatsoever. If anything, I was quite happy because I think more people will remove him. So
Ah, nice.
his
Okay.
effective ownership's gone down 5% in like 4 days. I think he's about 21% now. Prior to the game, he was about 27%. So no, Nim, really not. Especially with Rafa Benitez, the way he's going to set it up. He'll be on
Hmm.
set pieces as well. Be quite defensive. It was actually DCL I pulled out after Benitez became manager because he's quite a he's quite a I don't know what the word is. I can't find my words. He's quite a pragmatic coach.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see Liverpool. You're not going to see Everton really attack teams. So with Digne, at the moment, I'm going to keep him in. But if I wanted to bring in Lukaku or Son, who's looking extremely sharp, Digne will be sacrificed.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Absolutely. Just let me know how the sound is, guys. I'm trying to work a bit on my microphone, so hopefully I can get the balance right a little bit here, but it should definitely be better by the next stream. Just trying to work on some stuff whilst this stream is on. Yeah, so I'll pass on over and show people what I've got for my team, and then we can. To be fair, I mean, we really are not far off. So I've got Sanchez as well.
Okay.
Bachmann was kind of drawing me a little bit to him, and I was thinking, oh, you know, Watford fixture's pretty good, and then obviously having Foster, it's just that kind of, you know, that, how can I explain, that kind of security, I guess, of knowing you've got a player from the same team.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know what it is, but like I feel more confident in Sanchez for Brighton, especially now we know that he played on the weekend, so that we know his fitness is okay, because obviously there's a little bit of doubt around that. But
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit kind of nervous, I guess, to go away from that, because Sanchez kind of proven in the Premier
Hmm.
League, and the other two, you know, we're not really sure which one's going to play, and yeah, it's like it's a little bit kind of still out there, isn't it? We're still a little bit
It's
trying
kind of the
to work it
safety
out.
pick as well. It's a
Yeah,
safe pick because of
yeah,
the template, you
percentage
know?
owned
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. But also Brighton's fixtures are just, there's a reason why he's template, right? Because Brighton's fixtures are really, really good.
Yep.
So pretty much got the similar back line to what you had, only I have taken Digne out based on what happened on the weekend. I was already umming and ahhing between him and Soufal, and I have struggled to drop Soufal most of this preseason. Like, I don't know whether it's a gut feeling or what, but just yeah, I've really struggled to like let him out of my team.
Mm.
And them getting I think they got a clean sheet on the weekend, and just looking pretty decently overall has, like, I think made me think, well, I can take an extra 0.5 from Digne and yeah, go with Soufal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thinking there. Instead of the whole Buendia, Sarr, Rafinha thing, my slight difference to you in midfield is that I've got Jota at the
Yeah.
moment. So Jota was in my first draft, and I then moved off of him and went to Buendia. And there's just this little bit of doubt now about his, like, injury, as you said, a bit of injury concern, him not playing in preseason and stuff like that has made me a little bit kind of like, oh, not sure now if I want to kind of nail my mast on that for the start of the season. Now I realise I'm saying this talking about Jota, who, as we know, is not exactly like like nailed on in any like shape or manner, but he has been playing in a lot of the preseason's games, and
Right.
he has been doing really well in them too.
Yeah.
Where Firmino sits in that worries me, but I have stuck my neck out saying that Jota will be one of the kind of biggest point scorers of the season if he gets the game time. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of me that thinks I should probably kind of put my money where my mouth is there on that one. I am not ruling out going a bit higher with this spot, if I'm honest, just because there's the likes of Havertz and Son, who are also kind of piquing my interest. I mean, Son has had the most amazing pre-season,
Yes,
so
he
it's
has.
getting a little bit difficult to avoid him because, well, you know my history with Sonny. I mean, he saved my bacon last season, so yeah. He has had an epic pre-season, and that, you know, I think the only thing that's slightly worrying me around him is the Harry Kane situation, pretty much. So Harry Kane stays, are we going to go back to having the Son Kane dream team again this season? Or will it maybe hinder what Sonny's been doing in pre-season because he's been playing a bit more out of position? Also, I think they're touted Tottenham to buy Martinez, who is another forward. I know Arsenal were
Yeah.
linked with him. So if they get him, I don't know again where that pushes Sonny. Like, would it? Whether all of that happens before the start of the season, though, I don't know. But in order to be able to afford that midfield, I'd probably have to drop Tony, and I'm really struggling to do that. I mean, it was much easier when we thought he was injured at the weekend. I was like, oh, easy. 4.5 forward now. Bish bash boss. Sorted. I can
Right.
get my more expensive midfielder. Happy days. But no, it hasn't transpired because obviously the manager's come out to say now that he will be fit for, well, nothing will keep him away from the Arsenal game, I think is the exact words. So, which is a strong statement. But yeah, I don't know. I can't drop him. Yeah, apart from seeing what he did in the Championship, I really have nothing to go on for the Premier League. So it's a wild, like, guess that he'll do brilliantly, but also percentage owned. He's still quite highly
Yeah,
owned, isn't he? So
I think yeah. I mean, there's a couple of guys I really respect in the FPL space who've done well, and a lot of them are like you kind of want to be boring in the beginning, really, and just
yeah,
and stay with the pack, and that's something I've never done with FPL, and I really want to give that a go because I feel like you do that and then you can spread from there. In regards to Son, now they're going to replace Kane or Kane's going to play.
mm,
Yeah. So if they replace Kane with Martinez, who is an elite striker, Martinez is going to play.
yeah,
And if he plays, Son is going to go on the left. And if Kane stays, Son's going to go on the left. So for me, Son is going to eventually go back onto the left
mm,
unless Tottenham do not replace Kane with another elite striker, which I think is an error. It's an error because if Son gets injured, who's going to step in? So,
yeah.
but I
And
think for
what
the
if Kane
first,
stays
yeah,
and they sign Martinez? Do you see him playing two up top?
I don't think they can afford to. I don't think they have the money to do it.
Fair enough. That's a fair point,
Uh,
actually, because that would be a fair whack, wouldn't
but I
it?
love, but I love your Jota shout because I think yes, even though he's not certain, he's played the most preseason out of the four forward players, and Firmino's just come back from the Olympics as well, or Copa America, sorry. So I don't. I'll be surprised if Jota starts against Norwich. Sorry, Firmino starts against Norwich.
So the one thing I wanted to say here as well is Chris has just kind of reminded me a good point here. He said, hey Nim, if you keep 0.5 in the bank, then you can move Jota to Grealish for Norwich and game week 2,
Mm,
which, you know, I quite like the sound of. What my thinking was that possibly I may drop Rafinha, which is a big shout, but to Emil
mm,
Smith Rowe and keep the million in the bank. And then I would have some serious kind of flexibility then where that extra million goes.
mm.
This is just based simply on preseason again, really, is that Rafinha hasn't really shown up for preseason. He's been playing the games, but we haven't heard of him getting involved in any of the attacks, all been Bamford, really. So
True.
um, Harrison slash Neil Smith Rowe for that fourth midfielder spot. You know what? It's not an expensive spot, but if you've got the million in the bank and Buendia comes back and he smashes it, or Sarr smashes it, or whatever, then you can just stick that money back in that spot. Or,
Yeah.
as Chris said, you can then put that million into the Jota spot, get you up to an 8.5. Or even if Lukaku's on his way, then you're going to have to find some money somewhere. Tony down, use the extra million added to that cash, and then Ings up to Lukaku. So it just gives you a bit of flexibility. So I'm not 100% set, but I'm very close to my final draft with this. And the Williams 4 million one is also a kind of keep switching, because there's quite a few potential 4 million defenders out there at the moment, isn't there?
Quite right.
Cool. So shall we move on to the Rate My Teams, because we've had a fair few of them on Twitter. And I will just open this tab. There we go. So our first one is from Totally FPL. So let me know when you're good and you can see that, Ray.
Okay.
Ryan says, any interest in Harvey Barnes? I can't say I have been that interested in Harvey Barnes. I mean, I have considered sticking Vardy in, to be honest, because he would be a good placeholder for Lukaku. I love Iheanacho as well. He was in my first draft. If you watch Sam from FPL Family, I did a YouTube video with her from my first draft, and Nacho was in that. But Barnes hasn't really grabbed me, I think, because he's such a kind of a purple patch player. I think, yeah, he doesn't really provide a very good consistent amount of points, does he, Ray? It's like very kind of streaky.
I think extremely talented, but if you watch the game against Man City as I did, they played one up front, meaning Daka and Iheanacho were on the bench. So I have no idea what the formation will be. And if they play two up front, Maddison or Barnes are going to get dropped, and then Perez might get dropped. So I'm very unsure about who will actually play. And it's funny, when you said, yeah, I might just go with Vardy, I agree with you, because I think he'll definitely start.
Yeah, because if you're going to go Leicester...
Exactly. Daka, Maddison, Iheanacho, and Barnes, and Perez, they're not all going to start. No. So I'm probably not going to go for Barnes at all unless I see a few injuries here or there, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think I'd need to see him getting off the mark first before really kind of getting stuck in on him. Also, it just wasn't massively bold of him. I mean, he bags of talent, like you said, but attack-wise, I felt like Grealish offered more like in the way of looking like he was going to score something than what Harvey Barnes did, but that's just personally from the eye test. Okay, Totally FPL has Pickford, Wan-Bissaka, White Target, Salah, Havertz, Bruno, Pepe, Calvert-Lewin, Jimenez, and Mopé, with Begovic, Veltman, Ayling, and Basuma on the bench. So, okay, as two Arsenal fans here, I guess we ought to touch upon the double Arsenal players in this team. What are we thinking there, then, Ray, on Pepe as at the start of the season?
Well, he ended the season brilliantly. I think he got the most points in the last 4 game weeks. So if you're using stats, then absolutely. My concern isn't actually the game against Brentford, but then we got Chelsea and Man City afterwards. What are you really expecting? And I'm not a fan of booking in transfers, which is the errors I've made beginning of last season, not end of last season. I was able to get some kind of structure in place, but booking in transfers are a bit risky because something might suddenly happen, is it? There might be an injury. Someone might sign like Lukaku, and then what are you going to do? And you have someone like Pepe, and you're like, oh, there's 7.5 million, but do I expect him to return against Chelsea and Man City?
Absolutely.
No. So, not really. So what helped me is going 5 weeks and being like, right, if I had a team for 5 weeks and I had no transfers, would I be happy with this team? And when I looked at mine, I'm pretty much satisfied. And when I look at his bench, I actually really like his bench, apart from Begovic. I'd probably put Foster in.
Yeah.
But I think Veltman, Ayling, it kind of covers any subs. Pepe, again, I can see him returning against Brentford, Nim, but then what are you going to do with him after that?
Yeah, that's my concern. And also just that I still feel like Arteta is deciding how he wants to set up this team, because when we've played in pre-season, there's been quite a few different team news that's come out, and we've started several different teams, and I still feel like he's trying to kind of settle on a team that he really likes.
Yep.
So I'm not sure where Pepe falls in that yet. And that's my main concern, really, is that he hasn't really had loads of minutes in pre-season, and that's also my concern for Mopé. I know Brighton have great fixtures, but again, he hasn't really had a lot of minutes pre-season, and we know how kind of rotational that at Brighton were last season. I don't think Mopé got like loads of minutes, so they're two concerns. Kind of loving the Jimenez pick out of nowhere. It's a bit bat chisel. He did well. He did get a goal, I think, in pre-season a couple of days ago. So
from game week 4, he's just an incredible asset to maybe bring in.
Absolutely. Calvert-Lewin's flagged at the moment, so maybe Totally FPL wants to keep an eye on that. Obviously, Everton's fixtures are great, but yeah, you know, without Calvert, it's tough, you know, and that's kind of, I think, what put me off Digne a little bit for the start of the season as well, is that there's no one really there to kind of finish off any crosses if they lose the clean sheet. Good point. That was kind of my thinking. We're getting off with Digne there, but obviously if we hear that Calvert's back before the start of the season, it would all change. And yeah, love Havertz, but again, I don't know what the situation is there with Lukaku. Does that make him more of an asset, setting up Lukaku more? Is it less of an asset because Lukaku takes the vast majority of the attacking returns? That's going to be a tough one to know, and that's my only concern with Havertz. But it's a nice price point there to move to anybody should the Havertz pick not really work out, I guess.
Agree.
Yeah.
So are we grading this?
Oh yes, we go. Oh god, this is why I don't do rate my teams. I'm too nice. I feel bad if I give it a number. Okay, so we'll go out of 10, right? I think this
you could do points as well, like 0.5s.
Oh, okay. Let's go 7.5 on this one then for me.
I think we got a good cop, bad cop.
Go on then, buddy. Go on.
I'm gonna have to give it a 5.5.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely good.
I think the Morpay shout and Pickford and Pepe, they're too risky. I feel Jimenez could be awesome, but tough fixtures.
It's quite differential as well, which is not great at the start of the season. You kind of want to try and keep with the pack a little bit. Okay, cool. Just to say, guys, if anyone's new to the channel, thank you for tuning in. If you could like and subscribe, hopefully if you subscribe, something fantastic will happen on the screen. So yeah, hopefully it'd be cool to test that out, see if it's working this time. Okay, so we're moving on to FPL Shri MC. And they have, again, quite a good template team, but also they've gone with basically what I was talking a little bit about earlier. So they've gone with Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Soufal. Then they've got Harrison, which is that 5.5. I was, you know, potentially considering myself in that spot. Bruno, and they have Son with Salah and Basuma. Obviously, they've then dropped Tony to Obafemi, who has been getting some game time in pre-season. Has got a lot of FPL managers excited for a 4.5 million striker. Obviously, just bear in mind that I don't think that's going to be a case of 90 minutes every match. So, but, you know, 4.5, you don't really expect that anyway, do you? Foster, Amati, and Ayling on the bench. What are we saying on this one then, Ray?
I think the back four are brilliant. I think if you have the likes of Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, you're good for me almost straight away. And then you add the likes of Soufal or Digne or even one of the City lads like Diaz. I think you're onto a winner there. I think this team probably has nothing in the bank because of the fact that Rafinha was selected. Harrison was selected rather than Rafinha. But then you have the big, massive three in midfield with Bruno, Salah, and Son. And you know what? I think you can keep the three of them all season, Lynn. That's legit how I feel.
Yeah.
Especially if Son is playing up front. Basuma, you're not going to really expect anything off. You're going to expect maybe 2-3 points here or there. Just using that player ultimately just to fill a team. And Ings and Antonio. So I have Ings and Antonio. I think they are explosive for the first 3-4 fixtures, but
Yeah.
they don't have great hammies.
Yes,
So just have to be
it
wary.
is feeling like a front of like a front formation that's waiting to have a transfer waiting to happen, doesn't it, really, by owning both of those two. I mean, get Wilson in as well and you got triple injury threat right there.
Or we're all just hoping they survive the
Yeah,
first 3 weeks.
I
Like me
know,
as well.
tell me
Just
about
lads,
it.
just survive, and then I want to kick you out anyway.
Just please, like when we saw that Lukaku was joining, obviously I had a little look at the fixture swing, and game week 7 was looking a little bit where I was thinking I might wildcard, because there's a lot of people saying they're just going to do 3 game weeks and then wildcard, but I was quite liking game week 7. But yeah, when I look at some of the players I have in my team, I'm like, are they going to survive to game week 7 just with injury? I don't know that they are, you
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, but yes, let's give this team a rating. So for me, this is much better, and I love the Sunny pick because yeah, you know, Super 6 Sunny did great for me last season. So I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 on this one, 10 being the highest.
I'm gonna go 7. I think 10 of the players are absolutely brilliant,
Yeah.
but Bissouma,
Yeah, that's the
you're
only
not ever going to
worry.
expect any more, really. And
Yeah.
the one thing maybe to think about is you got a West Ham cover already in Sufal.
Yeah.
Maybe take out Antonio for someone like Tony, and then that 1 million opens you up for maybe someone like Smith Rowe.
Ah, nice. Like
Yeah.
that.
So, but otherwise, yeah. I mean, those 3 in midfield, and you have Trent. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's my only concern with this team is probably that like you're gonna have to pretty much rotate between Basuma, Ailing, and Amati as your 11th player, which doesn't feel massively strong, does it really?
And unless they're going to sign a defender, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to give some shout out to Mark, Chris Nuclear, hi buddy, FPL Noble Gent, hi Norman is in, Miss Melina, welcome, Focus, how you doing buddy? And we have the Rubber Ducky. Great times. So loving that. Okay, cool. So we are moving on to our next one, which is from Helen. And the first Martinez I see in goal. Sufal, Shaw, Trent and White. Bruno, Salah, Jota, Buendia, Barnes and Antonio up front, with Steer, Tony, Amati and Obafemi on the bench. Ooh, First of all, if you are sticking with this team, Helen, I would probably say play Tony against Arsenal. That is, as an Arsenal fan, both of us as an Arsenal fan. So welcome, Varun and Kieran. Welcome, guys. Yeah, so I think this covers a lot of the basics. You've got Antonio in, you've got Sufal, you've got Shaw, you've got Trent, Bruno and Salah, and then I'm seeing you got like Jota, Buendia, Barnes, which is kind of the, if we add Sarr into that and we add Rafinha into that, it's probably the 5 that people are most playing around with in that kind of 7 mil to 6.5 mil area.
I see.
I think you've got a lot of scope to go places with this. Martinez did play some minutes on the weekend because there was possibly a bit of thinking that he may not make it back for the start of the season, but he did play some minutes on the weekend. I think he played half the match. So the GOAT is back. She says that Buendia may become Greenwood if our I'm not sure where she was going with that. And Martinez back down to 4.5 million, or I may ditch Buendia and Barnes for Sun. So she's still.
But maybe out. Buendia may become Greenwood if out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, Greenwood's been in my thinking. A lot of people seem to be put off by him, but I think he looked great in preseason, and when I did the community video that's coming out tomorrow on my channel, a few very big names picked Greenwood as their hidden gem. So yeah, you might want to kind of check that out because there's some good facts on why Greenwood might be a good pick for the start of the season. But yeah, I quite like this.
So do I.
Yeah, I do quite like it, just because there's lots of places you can go there. Like I said, I'm not massively bowled over by Barnes, but you know what? That could be anybody. And I like the fact that you're thinking about possibly moving up to Sun. So I would give this one. What am I going to give it? I'm going to give this one an 8. I think another 8. Strong 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so with me, I mean, the bench worries me
Yeah.
because for me, definitely Helen bring in Tony for White, and then you kind of have the 3-5-2 if you're going to stick to this. But
Oh yeah.
Amati and Obafemi, like Obafemi, I think he might. Okay, let's assume we're going to bring in a 4.5 million pound striker.
Yeah.
None of them are going to play, to be honest with you. So that's something to be slightly wary of. Otherwise, if I'm just looking at your 11, I'll give it a 7.5. I think it's stacked. I think Jota or Greenwood could just go absolutely ham if they play. So
Yeah, I agree on that one. Cool. Okay. I'm just aware we've got quite a few to get through, so I'm gonna kind of shift through them a little bit here. So FPL Claire E has Bachmann in goal, Trent, Digne, Diaz, so our first City defender, Salah, Bruno, Rafinha, Barnes, another Barnes, Tony Wilson, Antonio, Foster, Veltman, Gilmore, and Amati on the bench. So a lot of people getting in Amati here.
yeah,
Seeing after him playing. To be fair, you know, when Leicester keeps a clean sheet against City and he plays and he's 4 million, I mean, you can't really kind of fault people for wanting him in, really, can you? And until they sign somebody, if they sign somebody, then yeah, he should be getting the game time. So, I like this. I don't know why I haven't been brave enough to look at City defence yet. I think it's probably the price, and their fixtures don't look massively brilliant on paper. And then I guess the Leicester thing on the weekend just made me think a bit, I don't really want to pay out that much money for a City defender if they're going to concede, because it's anyone's guess which one of those City defenders may or may not get any attack in return. So yeah, I think I'm not sure about starting the season with them. I know I will end up on City defence. I mean, we most likely all of us will at some point. I mean, you know, they're one of the best defences in the league. But I think while they're kind of figuring everything out, like, that's the one thing that I guess that puts me off of like Grealish or Gundogan as well, is just that once KDB comes back, once Foden comes back, you know, Sterling still got to fit into that midfield. It's like, oh, I need to see what Pep is thinking about here with all of this before I kind of get involved in any of it. Like, I want to know like what's happening here before I settle completely. So that's my kind of thinking around Diaz. So Claire, I see where you're going with it, and I get it. I'm just not entirely convinced yet by City defence. What about yourself, Ray?
I actually like this one the most
Oh,
out of the
okay,
ones
love
we've
it.
reviewed because you know that position I was telling you about, Saar in my team?
Yeah.
I've also been thinking about making him Diaz and playing 4 at the back
Okay.
because Diaz is likely to play the most games out of all the outfield players at Man City. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah,
So
I would.
going on that and the fact that City are still a fantastic defense. Remember, they conceded a goal via penalty.
Yeah.
And they still got a lot of players to return as well. And Ake won't play; he's a very bad defender. That I think Diaz is a fantastic long-term pick because you're not going to take him out. You're just not. If you're gonna bring him in, you're not going to take him out, unless obviously he gets injured.
Yeah.
First Wilson one I think we've seen on this stream, and Wilson, Ings, Antonio, Iheanacho, they're all in that fantastic value, aren't they? So I have no issues with it whatsoever. I really like the bench because you got 2 players there who will likely play in Veltman and Gilmore. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. I actually
Ooh.
really like this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. I'm not liking this one as much. I like the way that you can kind of go between the different formations, but I don't know, maybe it's my bias on Wilson and Barnes and not being really sure on Dina now, and Diaz being a bit kind of like, yeah, Wilson. So if you remember to my channel, you get some cool emotes. And maybe my some of my mods will stick them in the chat, and one of them is Wilson, because I have definitely gone through my moments with Wilson.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go a little bit lower on this one. I'm gonna go back to 7.5 on this one, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Just for the few unsure, like the few players that I'm quite unsure about. So cool. Okay. So that was Claire E. Now we're moving on to FPL United. And they have Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Soufal, Barnes. Wow, a lot of Barnes.
I know.
Salah, Bruno, Rafinha, Antonio, Ings, Tony, Foster. How do I say this Liverpool guy's name who's stepping in for Robson now?
Tsimikas.
Okay, yeah. Tsimikas. Wow, I'm gonna have to give him a nickname, because that is an accident waiting to happen for me. Let's just put it that way. Brownhill and Ayling. I like this a lot, probably because it's not not massively far away.
Looks like your team.
Yeah, exactly. Just take Barnes away, and yeah, it's pretty much my team. It's fairly templatey, which at the start of the season, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, I don't think. And yeah, I'm just not sure about Barnes. Honestly, I just not sure about Barnes. But otherwise, I quite like it. I mean, like I said, it's not far off my own team, so there's nothing really there that sticks out for me to be against. What about you, Ray?
Yeah, it's a brilliant team, to be honest with you. Yeah, I can't really fault too much. I mean, for me, it's always good to maybe have one or two Mavericks or differentials that could really boost you past the normal template, and Barnes could be that player. Tsimikas is I just won't bring him in because I might want that third Liverpool spot for the likes of Jota, for the likes of Robbo and stuff.
Actually. And yeah,
that's a substitute. That's a transfer waiting to happen. But let's just say the price points are perfect on the bench for me. 4.5, 4.5, 4. I think it's absolutely fine. You know, you don't have to invest too much on the bench. But I think the first 11 are brilliant. Absolutely, I can't pick any holes in it. The thing about Rafinha I wanted to mention earlier is I feel he's fixture proof. It doesn't matter who he plays against.
Oh yeah.
And whoever Leeds play against is, you know, he always looks a threat. And he did return against the big teams last season. I think he got a couple of assists against Man U last year. So for me, he's almost like a set and forget for the whole season. And I'm seeing a lot of Soufals, and it's definitely tempting me to bring in Soufal. So yeah, can't knock it. Another 8 for me, man. I must say, this is an 8 as well. This is really good.
I think I'm up there with an 8.5 as well on this one. I'm just gonna quickly test, because I'm just gonna test. So hopefully, there we go. So yeah, anyone who hasn't subscribed, if you do subscribe, hopefully that's what will happen. Okay, cool. Let's move on to our next team. And this one, I asked FPL Finn to put this one because I just absolutely loved the fact that he'd gone into the effort of putting fedoras on every single one of his team, which just for me is just epic. And there's those little things like this in the FPL community that's just like, yes, like I love this. This is great. But yeah, Finn has Sanchez, Trent, Digne, Shaw, Soufal, Bruno, Salah, Son, Benrahma. This is a new one for us. Tony and Ings, Foster, Brownhill, Amarty, and Obafemi on the bench. So I like this a lot. I feel like I've been saying that quite a bit this afternoon. Like Digne, obviously, I'm now a little bit not sure about, but And I think that possibly means that your bench is a little bit weak because you've gone quite strong in defence. It means that if you don't want to play one of those defenders in any week, you're going to have to play Brownhill, Amati, or Obafemi, which I think Brownhill is pretty set
Yes, he is.
minutes-wise. There's kind of a Basuma situation, but yeah, that's my only real concern with this team is maybe steal a bit of money from one of your players, probably Dina or Sufal, I would say, and try and invest into one of those bench players a bit more just to give you a bit more options week to week. But otherwise, loving the Sunny pick. Going without Antonio could be a risky one because he seems quite highly owned for the start of this season. So obviously, if he does well, that could be a bit.
I think
of an
he's covered that with Sufal and Benrahma.
Yeah,
picks.
True. Yeah, Benrahma has been doing well this preseason. I did mention him as a bit of a pick towards the end of last season. Obviously, quite a lot of people were going Jesse, and I was like, but have you noticed when Benrahma's playing, Jesse isn't really getting points, and people were like, oh, yeah, So, yeah, he does look good this preseason. If he carries that into the start of the season, could be a good little pick. But yeah, I do like this one. My only concern is not being able to really be flexible anywhere. So for that, I'm probably going more with an 8.
Okay, that's still
actually,
very
I'm
high
going to
mark.
give it 8 points. I'm actually going to give it 8.5 just for the fedoras. The effort of the fedoras.
Yeah, design-wise, Finn, amazing. Like 10. But for your actual draft, I'll say a 7. And the reason for that is you need to find 0.5 and strengthen that bench.
Yeah.
For me, the sweet spot is having a 4.5 mid who plays and a 4.5 defender who plays. And then maybe you can have a 4 million fodder like Amati or Shimikas or someone like that. But so if you said to me, okay, who would it be, Ray? I'd say one of Dinya or Sufal need to be downgraded for me.
Yeah.
And then you can look to make MRT into someone like Veltman or Ailing, for example, and then you have some decent rotation. But I'll give it a 7.
Cool. Good cut. Bad cop again. Okay, this one's from Katie. We have a Sanchez, Shaw, Digne, Trent, and Marty. So she's choosing to play Marty in the first week, which is brave when I see who's on the bench at the moment. Bruno, Salah, Buendia, Sa, Iheanacho, and Antonio with Steele, Tony, that guy from Liverpool,
oh my goodness,
and Rafinha. I'm too scared to try and attempt it because I'll say
is she playing a bench boost? Katie, are you playing a bench boost?
Yeah, Katie, we need to know if you're playing a bench boost because please bring her
back in.
Please play one more of your attacking players, at least either Tony or Rafinha. I just would as over a Marty, I think, probably, if I had to choose there. But yeah, there's a lot going on. It's a strong bench. Like the Iheanacho pick. I think there's just a lot of worry for me in this team. I don't really know, like, what the situation is with
who will you drop out of those front 8?
Yeah.
You got to drop someone, and who are you going to drop? Rafinha, Tony, Antonio Nacho, Bruno Salah, of course not, but Buendia and Sa. So for 4 positions, you got to drop one.
Yeah. We have Mr. B Love in the chat. Hey Bobby, hope you're good. Nacho. I love Nacho, but at the moment, I don't know whether he starts. That's the reason why I'm not starting with him, but I am sure I'll end up with him at some point. But Digne's a bit worried around him now with not really being sure about Calvin Lewin. Buendia, possible injury at the start of the season. There's just a little bit of worry in this team for me that kind of would knock me down more towards the 7.5, I think, for this one. I like the fact that she's got a lot of options and she can go anywhere with it, and it's a strong bench, especially, you know, given COVID times, but I think I'm leaning more towards the 7.5 on this one.
I'll give it a 6 because she has 2 4.0 defenders, and I just am not a fan of that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Buendia, Sarr, Iheanacho, Rafinha, Tony, and Antonio, one of them have to be downgraded for me because you're going to have a benching headache every single week.
Yeah, that is going to be hard. Okay, we're getting asked by Debo and Josh if we can still send a team. There is a thread on Twitter, guys. Add it to the thread. We're working our way up it. If we get to it in the
next, put a timer on.
Next 10 minutes, then you can have it. Otherwise, we have to do another one. Okay, so this is FPL Michelle. She says, "Hey Nim, have 1 million in the bank." She's got Bachman, Trent, White, Shaw, Benrahma, Barnes, Bruno, Salah, Tony, Ings, and Wilson, with Foster, Soufal, Brownhill, and that fella from Liverpool. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming she's probably just gone from Buendia to Benrahma.
Yeah.
1 million in the bank. I love Michelle because it gives you a lot of options to upgrade anywhere that you need to. I would probably play Soufal over White for the potential attacking threat from Soufal rather than, yeah, I just could, if Tony plays, especially if you're going to play Tony, try not to kind of pit your attackers against your defenders as much as possible. I mean, sometimes it can't be helped, but in this situation, although you would have Soufal against Wilson, I guess. So yeah, I just think it's more attacking threat in Soufal than what there is in White. But other than that, you've got a lot of the names being talked about for the start of the season. I don't love Bachman, gotta say. Other than that, I don't mind the team. Bachman and Barnes are probably the ones I'm not massively overly keen about. And obviously my love-hate relationship with Wilson. So tough to know where to go with this one because I feel like I've said 7 quite a lot.
Nice solid mark.
It's a nice solid 7. I feel like I'm strictly. Yeah, I'll probably just stick with the 7 for this one. Finish. What about yourself, Ray?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, but also on Twitter as well, is a lot about Benrahma. And I think a lot of managers are trying to cover not having Antonio by going with Soufal and Benrahma double up. I'm seeing a lot of that, and I've seen it a lot in this stream as well. So I'll give it a 7, like yourself. I like the idea of, you know, some of the picks as well. The only change I'd make is bring in Soufal and replace White.
Yeah.
But also, for me, I'm unsure if Benrahma's a first team player.
Yeah, man.
You know, that's something to think about as well, is because, you know, they got Bowen over there, they got Lanzini. Will they play 5 at the back? If they play 5 at the back, will that mean Benrahma plays? You know, so
yeah, I think just because he's done so well in preseason, everyone's like, oh, you know, he's definitely a really good pick. But I think a lot of people are thinking he probably takes that Jesse spot with Jesse not being there anymore. But like you said, there are still players that could take his spot, so there's no guarantees there on that one. Hopefully that helps you out, Mish. Mig has sent 2 teams.
Yeah, the first one was a madness.
Do you think blue is the right colour to go with? Or maybe red? Well, I mean, you're asking 2 Arsenal fans, so the quick answer to that one for this team is red. And then he says, I've changed it to this for quick first serious proper draft. So this isn't kind of far off, I think, where I'd be thinking if I got Son in. Obviously, I'd probably not have Wilson though, and go with Antonio. But other than that, we're not far off. There's a lot of Watford going on that bench. A lot of
the
Pikachu
first non-Bruno. The first non-Bruno.
Ah, I didn't even notice that. Didn't even notice that. Ah, see, you have to
That's
be
why you got
different
me.
somehow.
That's why you got me.
I was like, there's a, how is he? Like, literally, I was just about to say, how are you affording Tony and Sarah on the bench there with that team? But yeah, no Bruno. I don't think Meg went without Bruno last season, so it's probably kind of more of a pride thing that he goes without him again this season.
Right.
So, yeah. I like it, but Meg, I'm gonna slate you because I know you can take it, but I just don't think you should be going without Bruno at the start of the season. So I'm giving it 6, giving it my worst score of the day. Getting a 6 because no Bruno, but I really like everyone else, to be fair. Although I don't know who Serrata is for Watford, so
As a defender, 4.5. Yeah. I'll go 6. I'll go 6 just simply because no Bruno.
yeah.
I think maybe once Harry Kane, Lukaku comes, and hopefully Sancho's playing, then maybe you can switch Bruno to Sancho.
Yeah.
Cover that with, I mean, Shaw as well, so double up with Manu, so then you can go Lukaku or Kane. And I think there's ways around it eventually, but to start off with, sure, we're not going to captain Bruno.
Percentage wise.
We're not going to captain Bruno, but I still expect him to get some points. So,
yeah.
in regards to actually starting the team, I would start. I'll take out the Arsenal boys from your teammate, and I'll play Tony and Sarr if you're stuck with this team.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6.
I would also strongly consider, if you're going to go without Bruno, maybe getting Greenwood, Meg, either for Jota or Sarr.
That's a good shout. He'll definitely start the first game.
Yeah,
I have no doubts. So,
for
yeah.
sure. Okay, sorry, buddy. It's only because I know you can take it.
I'm not sorry, mate. I'm not sorry at all.
Okay, Jordan, a regular of the stream. So his team is Sanchez, Shaw, Soufal, Veltman, Trent, Bruno, Rafinha, Mahrez, our first Mahrez, Salah, Ings, Antonio, Foster, Brownhill, Obfemi, and Ayling. So initially, I'm just kind of like not sure about the Brighton double up at the back. Is my only concern. Whilst Brighton have really good fixtures, I don't know, with quite a lot of the injuries in defence at the moment, that I'd be playing Veltman. Then again, your bench, I guess, because of Mahrez, is a little bit lacking. So, yeah, I mean, it would mean kind of playing Brownhill instead of Veltman. So, yeah, I can see why you're playing him. This is my only kind of reasoning for not really going for Mahrez straight off the bat, is just feels like the bench is really lacking. I don't know if you feel the same there, Ray.
Yeah, I Brighton double up defense is just not enticing for me. And Mahrez, again, I don't like booking in transfers, so he's likely going to look to bring him out. That's what I can see. I could see Mahrez playing against Spurs and being benched against Norwich. Because by then you have Grealish back, you have Sterling back. I think Foden's injured at the moment, but you have a few players back.
Mahrez is brilliant, right?
My God.
We've all got to just say he's elite level.
Yeah.
But the problem with City is they have so many elite level players that it's just like, I think a lot of people are thinking, well, Champions League doesn't start for a while yet, so he's pretty set for the first couple of weeks, and I get it. But I think for me, I'm a very wait and see on City at the moment. Just
absolutely.
The only one I feel slightly confident going with is Grealish, just because I feel like they've paid that much money for him. Like for the first few game weeks, they're going to want to settle him in. He should get some decent game time, and he looked quite attacking on the weekend. Like, that's not to say I don't think Mahrez is as good as Grealish, because I do. I just don't know what Pep does when some of these other players start kind of folding back into the team, and that's my only concern with him. But he is an easy switch to anybody at that price point.
Good point.
So,
very good point.
I guess if you played the first week and you're, touting that other people were back and that he might get dropped, then you could shift him on to somebody, who's a little more nailed. But is that then locking yourself into a transfer potentially? So
that's what I mean.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this a 7.5 5. Just I'm not going to give it any more just because I'm a little bit worried about that bench and the double Brighton double up, I think.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6 again, because of the double defense with Brighton.
Yeah.
And again with the bench is okay. You got 2 guys who play there, Ayling and Brownhill, but I'll give it a 6 simply because I don't like Veltman and Sanchez together.
Fair enough. Cool. Okay, let me check. Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for my hate messages. They're
Okay,
gonna be hilarious.
we got
You can DM me, guys.
We've got 2 more originals, and then I'll just quickly see if I can find the couple who asked in the chat, and then we'll wrap up. So this one's Nuclear Atoms. He says, another regular to the show. Hey, Nuclear. Bachman, Trent, Shaw, Digne, Greenwood, Mount, first Mount of the day. Salah, Sun, sounded dodgy. Ings, Antonio, Tony, Foster, Veltman, Brownhill, and Amati. So what do we think of Mount? Because I guess he's the main difference in this team to some of the others we've looked at today, Ray.
If Lukaku is signed, I am a bit unsure where Mount will play because I think Havertz and Werner are in Tuchel's first 11.
Yeah.
They played the Champions League final. I know Mount did as well. And they're German, which always helps as well, I think. And I think they will be next to Lukaku as a 3 up front. Now, because Chelsea play a 3-4-3, that means the only way I can see Mount in the team is if he plays with Kante in the middle of the park. So even though his ownership is very high, and I'm very surprised how high Mount's ownership is, he's not really someone I'd go for Nuclear. I would actually wait on seeing someone like Mount and probably bring in a 6.5. I think Mount's 7.5. So with 6.5, there are a lot of good options. Or you could go for Jota, for example. But again, Nuclear hasn't got Bruno.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. How do I never see that? But at least I guess he does have Greenwood in where Mig didn't have Greenwood.
Right.
But yeah, I am...
Still a very good team, though, I must say.
It is still a very good team.
But maybe Mount. I think Mount can become Rafinha.
Yeah.
You know, someone like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Or Sarr, yeah. So... just because I'm unsure about Digne Mount and I really don't like going without Bruno, I just think percentage-wise, you're really setting yourself up. Should Bruno, like, absolutely do anything in that first week, it's already going to put you so far behind. So when I did my tips video with Fergie, he tried to be a bit different at the start of the season last season and went without Salah. And he left him, you know, Salah got like a brace. I think he said last season or the season before. Salah got a brace. He left himself nearly 40 points behind at the start of the season to try and make back. And that is just, when you consider how expensive both Bruno and Salah are, it's so much easier to get off of them should they do badly or not be doing anything than it is to get onto them somehow, you know, and really restructure your team. So for that, I'm edging more towards a 6.57 mark this team.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 7 because I like what Nuclear is trying to do. It's just, if you're going to go without Bruno, he's covered it quite well with the likes of like Greenwood and Son.
There is some cover there.
But with Mount, I would switch him to the aforementioned, we mentioned about, you know, the other 2 guys, and maybe hold that 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay. So Make the Connection has Sanchez, Trent, Dunk, Duffy, wow, Robertson, Salah, Gray in midfield, Fernandez, Pookie, Tony, Kane. Okay. First Kane the day. Begovic, Gilmore, Gibbs White, and whoever. He says, only fitting that you're probably the only one to ever rate any of my teams. Been 3 years of FPL. Have fun, I guess. Oh yeah, Kane serves as a placeholder for captain Romelu Lukaku. Okay then, right, fair enough. Yeah, I think, like, first of all, we're going to have to say the Robson's now injured, so get yourself down to a Soufal there or a Digne and save yourself a bit of cash in the bank. And then I would say, despite Brighton's lovely fixtures and the nostalgia of the Dunk Duffy double up, I think I would probably move one of those on to somebody else, like an Ailing or a White, or just a different team, because you don't want to kind of go all in on too many teams at the start of the season. I would say just, yeah, especially there's a lot there in Liverpool and Brighton. So if either of those two do particularly badly at the start of the season, that's half of your defence out of the picture already. I can see why this team is lacking in some areas, obviously with the expense of Kane slash Lukaku. I did do a premium draft on my channel, my 4 template teams that fits Kane in with Bruno and Salah and Trent. Little bit more balanced than this, so maybe have a little look at that, buddy. It might help you out with some of the other picks. But yeah, I like the Pookie shout. You know, his first Pookie party we've seen. Yeah, obviously Robson has to go. That's going to free up some cash. Ray isn't going to get you a whole lot of points in there. I'm not even sure how much Gray is, if I'm honest. So
5.5.
5.5. I'd be on a Harrison or an Emil Smith Rowe for that price, because they're going to offer way more attacking threat. So yeah, I think probably a 6.5 from me, just because I like that you're kind of already considering Lukaku, but I would be concerned that there's quite a lot of players all from certain teams here.
Hey, I'll give it a 4.
Wow.
The triple Brighton defense is just bold.
Yeah.
Gray hasn't really produced anything to, give me any kind of confidence, and I think somewhere you could find that 0.5 somewhere to upgrade to Harrison, rightfully, like you said. The bench doesn't offer too much for me in regards to kind of who you can bring in. I think Duffy's 4. So you've gone all in with like 5 premiums almost, isn't it? With Robbo,
Yeah.
Trent, Salah, Fernandes, and Kane. So, and Pookie as well has some horrible fixtures. Like the first
Norwich
5
fixtures
are
great.
like mad. So I think if you take out Robbo and bring in Digne, like you said, or Soufal, there's a lot you can do with 2 million. So maybe, work a bit on that. But I'm going to have to give it a 4, buddy.
I'm just sorry, I was just reading the loving that Bobby and Meg were having in the chat. Okay, I just want to quickly, Ray, before we wrap up, because I know you've got to go, just make sure that they're, because I think there was a couple of people who
Some questions?
Who did get some more in
Okay.
for us. So Noble Gent, who was in the chat, so I would like to cover his. He had Sanchez, Trent, Shaw, Mings, Soufal, Jota, Salah, Fernandez, Ings, Tony, Jimenez, and then Steele, Mbuemo, White, and Gilmore on the bench. So it's the first Aston Villa defence we've seen, I guess.
We saw Target earlier. We saw one
yes,
with Target
we did.
earlier,
We did. Guess that covers Martinez a little bit. So, but I was going to say I'm not sure about Aston Villa's fixtures, but if we're considering my head, sorry, Watkins and Ings, then they're okay. There we go. Hey, Capkin. Yeah, so I think it's not a bad shout. I feel like Aston Villa's defence kind of went off a bit of a cliff towards the end of last season, because I feel like I was like really strict on keeping Martinez when other people were getting off of him, and I was like, no, he's been the GOAT this season, I'm keeping him regardless. And I think it kind of like didn't do me any favours towards the end of last season, because Aston Villa defence was a little bit kind of dodgy. So I think that's got me a little bit kind of shook on going either Martinez or, Mings at the start of this season. So yeah, I like the Jimenez pick, as you said, Ray, probably more from game week 4 onwards. So gonna go with a 7 for this one. A 7.
So first of all, Noble Gent, Dan the man. Gonna meet him for pre-fest drinks.
Ooh.
on Friday. So he, myself, and Chris Irvine. That should be good fun. So he's a great guy. Me and Dan got on very well. So Dan, back to your team now, mate.
So you saw Meg and Bobby and got jealous, didn't you? Like we have to do
big
our
time.
own kind of
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. So there's a reason Martinez was the GOAT. It's because he was bailing out Aston Villa like every single game. So I don't think their defense is actually very good at all. They concede loads of chances, and Martinez just pulled up trees last season, and I'm unsure if that's sustainable. So I don't really like the Mings call for 5 million. I think they're better 4.5 options.
He's more expensive, isn't he?
I think they're better 4.5 mentions like White, like Ailing, White, Ailing, and it's pretty much the only two I really like the look of to start the season. I think Jimenez is I'd probably go for Antonio. I know it's looking like my team, Dan, but I'd go for Antonio simply because he's an absolutely brilliant preseason. He's got good fixtures, and then you can hop off him or Ings in number 4 to bring in Jimenez. So I love the Jimenez shout, but I like Jimenez more for after a month because they do have tough fixtures on paper. But I'll give this a solid 7. I like the Imbueno on the bench because he apparently is quite a good player. And if Brentford ever play with 5 at the back, he will usually go up front with Tony. So I actually like that call. But for me, it's a solid 7. I think just Mings and Jimenez you need to look at. But otherwise, yeah, man, good draft.
Nice. Cool. Whilst I'm getting the next one up, Mohammed says, what do we think about having both Watford keepers? What do you think about that, Ray?
I started my first draft had Bachmann and Foster, so I like it actually. And also, I tweeted out a few weeks ago that each of the promoted teams last season, all of their keepers got above 120 points.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so Sam Johnston also got like 120 odd points. Meslier got that, and whoever the last one was. So I feel like it's actually possible. I think it's a good call. But I have to see how Watford are first. Are they going to just drain the goals completely? While with Brighton, I do have trust in their defence. Even with some players injured, they do have a solid defence. Their expected clean sheets are higher as well. So
yeah. Oh, Claire's in the chat. She says, thanks, guys. I'll take 7.58. Wilson always scores against West Ham, by the way. I know that as a hammer. Oh, okay. Fair enough. That's fair enough, Claire. You can have the 8 then. So says that she'd probably too many risks. I may have lost my mind slightly. Love a bit of bat shizzle there, Zozo. Bachmann, Soufal, Trent Short. We have nothing against that. Ailing, a White. Yeah, I don't think there's anything we've kind of gone against there today. So the back line looks good, Zozo. Barnes, Salah, Greenwood, Havertz, Mahrez, Antonio, Ings, and Obafemi. So I guess the bat shizzle is that we've got no Bruno again. But you do have some cover in Greenwood there, Zozo. So I quite like that. I think because I don't really love Barnes, and we've been quite strong against Bruno in this team, so I'm probably going to give you a 7. And again, I'm not really sure about Mahrez. I mean, we talked a little bit about him earlier. He's great, but I'm just not sure how much of an FPL pick he is. Just depends on how long I guess you're wanting not to wildcard. If you'd like to give it a few weeks, then this is probably more of a short-term team than a long-term team. What about yourself, Ray?
I fully concur with you. Everything you said. Yeah, I think Mahrez, Greenwood, and Barnes. It's just if it's like a 1-2 week team, then absolutely brilliant. But my concern is you're eventually going to have to make those forced transfers because they're not playing. So yeah.
Devo, we will get to you. I promise. Even if you're the last one. I promise you. Negan is watching us live in his man cave. I absolutely love this.
I'll give it a 7, by the way.
I am so jealous of Negan's shed. Seriously, I can't wait to get my she shed. I'm working on it, literally, but I need to get Negan in, I think, because this is living right here. So thanks for watching.
Negan, yeah, that's Chris. Yeah, meeting him next week. I'm meeting him on Friday as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's my man.
I'll hopefully make the next one, so hopefully they'll do another one soon. Here we go. Right, where are we at? Let's make sure we get Debo in. Where are you, Debo? What's your at, Debo, so I can make sure we get you covered? Or is this you, Debo, the Glanvo? This has been posted a few times, so I'm guessing that could be you. Hoping that's you.
Oh, that's 3 times. My God, spamming it.
So I'm gonna assume this one's you, Debo. And we'll quickly give you one a go. So we have Martinez, Teeny, Shaw, Dina, Buendia, Rafinha, Saar, Benrahma, Cavani, Tony, Ings, Lamperty, Hudson-Odoi, and Livramento. Yeah, we've got you, Debo, and Areola on the bench. Okay, so
Yikes.
yeah, I think like initially there's panic here because there's no Salah, there's no Bruno, there's no Trent, and I love the differentialness of it, and I think you do have a few of the other really highly owned players in Ings, Tony, Benrahma, and Shaw. Probably Martinez, actually, because I think he might be the highest owned.
I think honestly, I think there's like 10 million in the bank.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out the maths quickly. I think
there's got to
easily
be money
5-6 million in the bank. Yeah, must be. Yeah.
Got injury worries here towards that season. Lamperty, no, he needs to go. Buendia is an iffy maybe. I just think at the start of the season you need to play it safe, buddy. And there's too many like out there picks for me to start with. I would much rather go with some safety year, get your likes of Salah in or a Bruno in, get a Trent in, just have some safety there. And you can always downgrade and be more batchizzle as the season goes on. But right now at the beginning of the season is not the time to go against the crowd, really. Of course, if all of these players do really well and it pays off and then you're ahead of the crowd, great. But you know, one of the things we were saying in our tips video the other day is that consistency is key, and there's few too many players here that I would worry that there isn't any consistency with. What are you saying, Ray?
Yeah, apart from what you've said, if I rated it, it would have to be a 1.
Wow.
Yeah, no Trent, no Bruno, no Salah. I just can't. I can't envisage a really good point score in the initial weeks. So
I think I'll be a bit kinder and say 4, but yeah, it does worry me too much. Okay, Danielle's asking, can we fit him in at PT Highlights? Lads, I said I would let Ray go ages ago.
I got 10 minutes.
You've got 10 minutes. Okay, okay, where are we? Highlights. Where are you, buddy? There you are. Okay. So we have Sanchez, Shaw, that Liverpool guy, White, Bruno.
Well, I don't know.
Salah,
Sorry, I gotta call you out on it.
Son.
What's his name?
Shami something.
Almost.
What's his first name? I need to give this guy a nickname.
I don't know. It might be.
Somebody give me his full name so I can give him a nickname. Ings, DCL, and Antonio, Foster, Ailing, Brownhill, and Manquillo. Hey, Dizzy. So yeah, what are we saying? I'm thinking there's too many 4 mil defenders for us there, right, Ray?
Yeah.
And love that we've got Bruno and Salah, liking the Son and Rafinha pick. It's a good front 3, I guess.
Front 7 are fire, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's because he doesn't have Trent in defence, so that's probably helped with that. I guess maybe some people might be thinking they could get off Trent now with Robson being injured, that maybe the Liverpool defence won't be as solid, but obviously Trent does carry that attacking threat, so you're not really buying Trent necessarily just to get clean sheets. It's all about his attacking threat as well. So keep an eye on DCL, obviously. Whether he will start at the beginning of the season, I don't know, because I don't know how bad that injury is. Maybe Tony for just for the sheer ownership, but you know, it's a difficult one, that one. But yeah, I'm assuming you must have some money in the bank. And if so, then I'd probably up one of your 4 million defenders, because I feel like you're going to want some more flexibility in this team. Saying Ray.
I don't know if there's any money in the bank, man. I mean, because you got
A Son, I guess, is going to
yeah,
use a
and then
fair bit of that.
you got three big hitters, and so assuming DCL is unavailable with the toe injury, I'd template, I'd effective ownership, safety, and go for Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. Go with that 1.5 million and make one of the 4 million defenders a bit stronger.
Yeah.
Cool. Otherwise, with what has been done with this team, I'll give it a 7 because I respect I respect how top heavy they've gone.
No, that's fair. I'd probably go 6.5 just because there's no Trent in there, but I do like the top heaviness of it. And I do like that Sunny's in there as well. So yeah, that's probably where I'll go with that. I did see that Napoleon was looking quite excited for the start of the season, so cool. And he said hello to the Nym fam too, so thanks for that. And yeah, so I probably need to let Ray go, but hopefully, guys, if we haven't got to you, there's a couple there that I skipped over. I think Bobby skipped over. Bobby has gone for Chambers in defense rather than White, which I like because there's that potential for attacking threat there, right, Ray, over White?
Yeah.
So that's quite a nice little differential there, I guess, Bobby to White, because it could actually give you some attacking returns rather than White just with clean sheets, which, as we know, with Arsenal can be quite a rare thing. But otherwise, quite like it. Although I'm not sure about having Rafinha buried second on your bench, Bobby. I would probably pay him over one of your defenders, probably Chambers, to be honest. If you're gonna have him in for that price, or drop him down to an Emil Smith Rowe and keep yourself some money in the bank to upgrade somewhere a bit later down the road. If you're gonna just put Rafinha on the bench, I wouldn't put that much money on the bench personally. I'd stick it in the bank for you to put wherever you want to put it later on, or or play or buy somebody you're gonna play. I think.
Yeah, I think this is a solid 7. I think I'd make Chambers into White personally, because even though what you said is true, Chambers is still battling with Bellerin for right back, battling with Cedric possibly for right back, while White, I think, will definitely play every single game. So I'd make Chambers into White, but I'd bench him for Rafinha. Yeah. And then I think you got no, you know what, 7.5. I think it's a really, really good team, actually.
Yeah, I like it as well. I mean, it's not massively far from my own, so 7.52, Bobby. Okay, cool. And with that, we will wrap it up. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you so much to Ray. Do go check out Ray's channel. I've linked his Twitter below, but he has a link to his channel on his Twitter page, so make sure you go and check him out. He covers lots of Arsenal stuff, don't you, Ray? So yeah, make sure you go check out Ray's channel. And yeah, it's been a great one. Thank you all just so much for joining us. It's been great. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. As I say, there's a community hidden gems video coming out tomorrow, so do look out for that. And I'll also be doing another video with Fergie this week for game week 1, and if I have time, I'll do another draft video. So yeah, plenty to come on the channel, so keep a lookout for that. And yeah, just bye from me.
And bye from me.
Bye from Ray. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye, guys.